Welcome to our new video. Today we explore the year 1904. This is a short journey through the defining moments that shaped the 20th century across the globe. Starting in Southwest Africa, the Herero people, led by Samuel Maharero, rose against German colonial rule on January 12th. This anti-colonial struggle highlighted the brutality of European imperialism and led to one of the 20th century's first genocides. On the same day, Henry Ford set a land speed record of 91.37 miles per hour in his legendary 999 racer. This incredible feat propelled the Ford Motor Company into global fame and signaled the dawn of the automotive age. January 17th marked a key moment for the Bolshevik movement when a young Joseph Stalin escaped Siberian exile. He returned to Tiflis to organize labor, signaling intense political agitation in the Russian Empire and foreshadowing the future Soviet Union. February 7th and 8th brought the Great Baltimore Fire, a catastrophic conflagration that destroyed over 1,500 buildings. This disaster had a massive economic impact and led to the national standardization of fire equipment. The Russo-Japanese War ignited on February 8th with Japan's surprise torpedo attack on the Russian fleet at Port Arthur. This first major modern war between a great power and an Asian nation redefined naval warfare and shifted the balance of power in the Far East. On February 15th, the Casement Report was published, detailing horrific abuses in King Leopold II's Congo Free State. This exposure sparked an international human rights outcry, putting pressure on Belgium and revealing the dark side of the scramble for Africa. February 23rd marked a major milestone in U.S. global influence, as the United States officially acquired the Panama Canal zone for $10 million. This was the implementation of the Habeau-Novarilla Treaty, securing the strategic land for the canal project. In March, the field of endocrinology was pioneered when Starling and Bayliss identified secretin, the first discovered hormone. This massive leap in modern medical science redefined how the body communicates internally. On March 26th, a demonstration in Hyde Park saw 80,000 protesters gather against the importation of indentured Chinese labor to South Africa. This global flashpoint for labor and racial politics influenced the fall of the conservative government in the UK. April 4th brought the Kresna earthquakes, two massive quakes estimated at 7.8 and 7.2 that struck Bulgaria. This powerful seismic event caused widespread destruction and prompted global humanitarian attention to the region. On April 8th, Britain and France signed the Entente Cordiale, a landmark agreement ending centuries of rivalry. This masterstroke of global diplomacy settled colonial disputes in Africa and Asia, paving the way for the World War I Triple Entente. The same day, Longacre Square in Manhattan was officially renamed Times Square after the New York Times. This reflected the rise of media as an urban powerhouse and marked the beginning of a global cultural icon, central to the NYC subway system. April 19th saw the Great Toronto Fire level much of downtown, destroying over 100 buildings. The resulting millions in property damage reshaped the city's architecture and led to significant improvements in urban fire safety. Finally, on April 27th, Chris Watson became Prime Minister of Australia, leading the world's first national social democratic government. This global milestone pioneered labor reforms, welfare policies, and established Australia as a laboratory for democracy. On April 30th, the World's Fair opened in St. Louis, known as the Louisiana Purchase Exposition. It attracted 20 million visitors, showcasing global progress and introducing new inventions like wireless telephony and new foods. May 1st brought the Battle of Yalu River, the first major land battle of the Russo-Japanese War. This decisive Japanese victory dispelled the myth of European military invincibility and secured Japan's foothold on the Asian mainland. On May 4th, the United States officially took over the construction of the Panama Canal. This monumental undertaking became one of the greatest engineering feats in history, drastically altering global trade routes by linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. May 5th marked the expedition to Lhasa, where British forces clashed with Tibetan troops. Part of the Great Game between the UK and Russia, this action forced Tibet to open up to foreign trade, deeply impacting the region's sovereignty. In May, Charles Rolls and Henry Royce met in Manchester, agreeing to produce cars together. This meeting heralded the birth of one of the world's most prestigious car brands, setting global standards for engineering excellence. On June 3rd, the International Alliance of Women was founded in Berlin during a World Congress. This was a major step for global women's rights, coordinating suffrage movements across continents and challenging traditional political structures. Tragedy struck on June 15 when the steamboat General Slocum caught fire in New York, resulting in over 1,000 deaths. This was the worst disaster in NYC history before 9/11 and led to radical changes in maritime safety laws. June 16 saw the assassination of Russian Governor General Bobrikov by Finnish nationalist Eugen Schaman. This act of resistance against the Russification of Finland strained the stability of the Russian Empire and made Schaman a national hero. On June 28, the Danish liner SS Norge ran aground, killing over 600 emigrants. This tragedy heavily impacted Scandinavian families and highlighted the dangers of transatlantic migration. The three-summer Olympiad began on July 1 in St. Louis, the first games held outside Europe. These games expanded the reach of global sports and notably introduced gold, silver, and bronze medals for winners. July 21 marked the completion of the continuous rail link of the Trans-Siberian Railway near Lake Baikal. As the longest railway line in the world, it unified the vast Russian Empire and was strategically vital during the war with Japan. On August 3, British forces occupied Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, concluding the British expedition. This event forced a trade treaty, ending centuries of Tibetan isolation and causing the Dalai Lama to flee to Mongolia. August 10 saw the Battle of the Yellow Sea, a major naval engagement between the Russian and Japanese fleets. This battle cemented Japanese naval superiority and demonstrated the power of long-range naval guns. The Battle of Waterberg occurred on August 11, where German colonial forces crushed the Herero resistance. This tragic landmark in colonialism led to the extermination order and drove survivors into the Omaheke Desert. Finally, August 14 brought the victory at Ulsan, where Japanese cruisers defeated the Russian Vladivostok cruiser squadron. This victory crippled Russia's commerce raiding capability and consolidated Japan's control over the Sea of Japan. October 20 saw the signing of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Bolivia and Chile. This formal agreement ended the state of war from the 1879 conflict and defined the modern borders of South America, with Bolivia conceding its coastal territory. In October, the United States took over the finances of the Dominican Republic to prevent European debt collection in the Americas. This move was part of the emerging Big Stick policy, signaling increasing U.S. hegemony in the Caribbean. On October 21, the Dogger Bank incident occurred when the Russian Baltic Fleet mistakenly fired on British fishing trawlers. This near-war incident highlighted tensions within European alliances and forced a major diplomatic inquiry. The New York City subway's first underground line began operation on October 27. This complex engineering feat transformed New York into a modern megalopolis, allowing for massive urban expansion and mobility. Theodore Roosevelt won a massive victory in the U.S. presidential election on November 8. He became the first, quote, accidental president to win his own term, solidifying the progressive era and securing a mandate for the Square Deal reforms. November 12 brought the Battle of Masolar, effectively ending the Uruguayan Civil War. The defeat of the rebels unified the nation under modern state rule, marking the end of the Caudillo era in Uruguay. On November 16, citizens in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, rose in rebellion against mandatory smallpox vaccination and the vaccine revolt. This unique clash between public health and civil liberty led to the suspension of the mandate and highlighted deep social divides. In November, John Ambrose Fleming invented the thermionic valve, or vacuum tube. As the fundamental building block of electronics, this invention enabled long-distance radio and television, paving the way for the first digital computers. On December 2, President Roosevelt announced the Roosevelt Corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. This asserted the U.S. right to intervene in Latin America, establishing the U.S. as an international police power and defining Western Hemisphere relations for decades. In December, Japanese forces captured the strategic 203-meter hill, leading to the fall of Port Arthur. This pivotal turning point of the Russo-Japanese War involved brutal trench warfare, a precursor to World War I, and resulted in massive casualties. Ira Washington Rubel perfected the first offset printing press in 1904. This revolution in technology allowed for faster, cheaper, and higher quality printing, transforming the publishing industry and becoming the standard for global mass media production. In science, J.J. Thomson proposed the plum pudding model of atomic structure. This model pictured electrons embedded in a positive soup, representing a major step toward modern quantum mechanics and redefining our understanding of matter.